Hey guys, we're here in El Sereno with David and Juan.
What's up, guys?
We're gonna do a little introduction to the King, Highland Park King. How long have you been doing this for?
Doing real estate.
Yes.
So I've been doing real estate for I think 11 years as a licensed agent. I think I think 10 years as a licensed agent, non-licensed 11 or no, yeah 11. So
Perfect. Before I got into business, I remember seeing you around. You were doing the marketing where I used to work.
mhm.
So I was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
King of marketing.
Who is this guy? Is he owner of Las Casas? No, a lot of people thought you were. I remember that.
Yeah,
So when I got into business, it was like 6, 7 years ago. You had already been working for 5, 6.
yeah, I think so. I remember seeing you at Antigua, right? So yeah, when I was at Las Casas, when I first showed up, my background came in marketing. So some people know about this about me, but my for like 20 years I did nightclub promotions. So and in the nightclub promotions, I would do my own flyers, business cards. I was a print broker at the same time. One of my buddies introduced me to being a print broker, and he's a superstar promoter, huge in the industry. Him and his dad has been doing this for a long time. His name is Bobby D, and he works with Snoop Dogg. He works with all these superstar acts, and he sells out like sports arenas, crypto arena, the old Staples Centers. He sells that all the time. So that's kind of like my background. So all my marketing came from nightclub promotions, and all the posters you see out there that says "We buy homes cash." That actually came from Bobby D,
Okay.
because his dad would put all these concert events that says,
Right,
"Hey,
the ones you see outside, like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
everywhere you go is like, oh, like even like Spanish, like oh, grupo. And,
That was his dad, yeah, Bobby
oh,
D."
that's pretty cool.
So, and the one thing that I've learned, and I always keep this, and this is what I want to show my nephew out there. But the one thing that he showed me, that Bobby showed me, was you always take care of the people that take care of you,
Right.
right? And that's how you build an army. That's how you build a team. And so that's, 25 years later, 20 years later, I'm still doing the same thing.
Still coming in handy.
Yeah,
So let's go back to where did you grow up?
yeah. So I actually grew up here.
El Sereno?
We're in El Sereno. I grew up in Rose Hill, which is the next mountain on this side. I grew up here. I left to Alhambra. I left to like South Pasadena, and when it was time to purchase, believe it, I didn't think I was going to be back in El Sereno, and I actually bought in El Sereno.
So you came back to your hometown,
Yeah.
pretty much. So what are you? You're Mexican? You're Latino? What are you?
Yeah. So I'm actually Mexican. I was born in Mexico. I came here when I was three or 4 years old. I would say I never went back, but yeah, I went back and forth with my passport
And you still do.
every summer. Yeah, every summer I would go back, and so I'm from Mexicali, and so my this is my original color, but when I go to Mexico, I turn like brown,
It gets
so
hot
it
over
gets
there.
pretty hot. It,
Yeah.
it gets like 100, and the max I think 120 was one year. Right now it's probably like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And next month it'll probably be like 110. So I try to stay away from Mexico, or at least from Mexicali. And like September I don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you grew up here. So you went to middle school, high school, everything
yeah,
here.
yeah.
And did you attend college afterwards, or
I
what was
did.
it?
I attended college. I definitely when I was in high school. I'll tell you my story. So when I was in junior high or high school, I didn't know I wasn't born here. I didn't know.
Oh.
I didn't know. I didn't know I didn't have papers, because I didn't have papers. But I had a passport, but I didn't know that, right? So I couldn't get a license. I couldn't get an ID. I couldn't work for anybody. Oh man, the wind's pretty cool in this neighborhood. So I couldn't work, but that never stopped me, right? I've been an entrepreneur pretty much most of my life, and I just figured out ways to make money, and yeah, it never stopped me. But going back to like, yeah, I didn't have papers for a long time.
Yeah. So you said you've been an entrepreneur forever. So
Yeah.
when was like at what age did you start seeing the signs? Like
Oh man, that I was an
Like,
entrepreneur.
yeah.
Oh, you don't want to know that story,
I do want to know this story. Who doesn't? Everyone wants to know this
Man.
story. Those are the good ones.
So I failed in my first business, and my first business is it's horrible, horrible. Um, I think I was like, how old was I? I was probably like in fifth grade, fourth grade, and I had two dogs. And they were mutts. They were like super mutts, but one had green eyes, and the other one was blue. And I think he had like a little star in his eye. It was crazy. So, and that was my dog, but he had a brother, and I sold it to my neighbor for 15 bucks. And I felt so bad after. I was like, what, 15 bucks? but I was going to Mexicali, and I was like, I needed money to go to Mexicali, and he bought it. Older guy, and he was like, I said 20 bucks, and he goes, I'll give you 15. And I'm like, fine. And that was like the worst deal I ever did, because his brother was an awesome dog. I had him for a long time.
What age was that?
I don't know. I think that I was like in fifth grade.
Fifth
Fourth,
grade, bro. I was
bro.
not thinking about selling anything. I was buying everything.
Yeah.
So that was your first signs, but you still didn't know, like, oh, that's what I want to do. Did you have like a dream job, dream career back in the day?
Yeah.
Like, what was it?
I was gonna be a fashion designer. So.
Fashion designer. Still sells kind of in a way, right? But it's
Yeah.
more designing. So is that why you got into marketing in the beginning?
I did.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you still want to do fashion or not anymore?
No, not anymore. I a lot of my heroes back then were like Versace, was the guys from Gucci, all these powerhouses, right? They're design houses, and so I went actually when I went to community college, I actually went for design, and I realized that I didn't like to be sewing and designing stuff. I actually wanted to be the marketing person. I wanted to create that brand, create that just the name. So, so that's what I did.
You realized that you don't want to be in fashion. You wanted to be in branding.
Yeah.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So, so then after high school, you said you went to some college, or not really? But how'd you end up in real estate?
In real
Like,
estate?
how was, like, from middle school, high school, then how did
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
in there?
So I remember in high school, what would you say,
College?
my safety career, I think was going to be always real estate. I always wanted to do real estate, but I wasn't committed to working for a commission-based job only, and I was scared. I was like, I ain't gonna do that. And then when I sold my first deal, I regretted not getting into real estate 10 years earlier. So if you guys are out there and you guys are thinking of if real estate is a good industry, it is. It definitely is. The most I made in one commission was like $50,000.
Right.
You know.
And how did you get your first deal?
Who was my first deal? Let's see. I think my first deal was probably a buyer, and I met her in Highland Park. So big shout out to Veronica. I think Veronica was my first client. And with Veronica's, with the resources that she's connected me and her friends, I met one of my great clients, Misty. Right, I sold her 3 houses already. Misty introduced me to Iviana and Jose, awesome couple. We bought their first house in Whittier. So just from the one buyer, Latina, right? She was in Highland Park when everything was getting overpriced, and she couldn't find anything in Highland Park, and she was like, "Man, I'm getting priced out." I said, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll find you something." And within like probably 6 months, we found her a great property in Highland Park on Avenue 54. Really nice craftsman home. and we got it during Christmas. So we had submitted an offer, I think, in October for like $100,000 under or something like that. They said no. And then during Christmas, they called us back. They was like, "Hey, is that offer still available?" And we're like, "Yeah." And so we got into escrow. And once we got into escrow, it still took us a few months to close. The seller tried to back out, and we're like, "Nope, we're buying this property." And she actually got a great property. She still owns it right now.
Yeah, she still owns it. And
Yeah.
you said you sold her a few other ones. So income producing properties.
Yeah, with Veronica, we got her first property, which she has a lot of equity, right? But then her friends, we bought 3 properties with Misty, with Iviana and Jose, we bought 1. So just the referral base, working with my clients, and that's with buyers, right? I've been in Highland Park for 10 years doing real estate. Most of my clients have been sellers. So the little buyers I do have, I really appreciate them. And I always trying to fight for my buyers. I always trying to find great deals for them.
You deal with them like if it was your own investment or property that you're buying for yourself, correct?
Yeah. I mean, because I've been in their shoes a few times. I went from owning pretty much renting all my life, right? Apartment after apartment after apartment. Even when I got into real estate, after being in real estate for 2 or 3 years, I still didn't have the mindset of buying a house, right? Because the money came in pretty quick, and the money went out pretty quick too. So there was times where
Story of my life.
Yeah. When I got into real estate, I was making, and this is gonna be, I was living off $1,500 a month. It was unemployment, right? And I had 3 months to really get my stuff together because my unemployment was gonna run out, right? And believe it or not, like, this is like really God sent.
Yeah.
The day when my unemployment ran out, I closed my first deal.
Wow.
Yeah,
But that pushed you in a way.
it did.
So once you saw the money came in, you're like, I gotta keep doing more and more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but we get comfortable.
Right.
Like I said, I was living off $1,500, and I was okay with living off $1,500. I was living in my brother's couch in Alhambra, and I was living there. I had recently got divorced, right, a few years back, so I was living in the couch, $1,500. I was cool. I had plans to go to Mexico and chill for a few months,
On
and
$1,500.
on $1,500.
Right.
And then, but luckily I got into real estate, and it changed my life. But then I went also from $1,500, I was making $15,000 a month, and I was spending $17,000. So
you were still negative 2,000,
I was
even though you were making less.
my mindset was still pretty poor.
Yeah.
Right.
So what age was that, if I may ask?
Oh man, so that was in the beginning. That was 10 years ago.
10
So
years ago?
I'm 41,
41.
right? So 31.
31.
Yeah.
And then before hitting 31, what were you doing? Let's say from 20 to 31. Like, what was your trajectory to get into
Oh
real
man,
estate?
I didn't have
'Cause that matters. Like that
Yeah.
actually makes you who you become anyway.
yeah.
Even though you struggled or whatever it is that happened.
So in my 20s, like I said, I was a nightclub promoter. So the only thing I would focus on is, and I had a few friends that actually I brought into real estate, and they're actually doing really, really good. They're with like Century 21. Johnny and Alfred, I brought them in, and I had a conversation with them and said, hey, look, what are you guys doing? You guys should definitely come into real estate. And I had coffee with them, and I sat down, and they're like, well, and I said, here's a check. Once they saw the first check, they're like, okay, all right, we're getting into real estate. And but they're awesome people. Like, they're really good leaders. So I saw them as being leaders. So that's why I said, hey, you got to get into real estate, all right? But before that, me and them were going out to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we were doing nightclubs in Pasadena. We were doing Baja Sundays with Frank. We were doing clubs in Hollywood, in downtown Los Angeles. We're doing clubs in QCs in Montebello. So I was involved with a lot of the big nightclubs in LA, and a lot of like the big New Year's like raves, right? So I did Together as One with Reza for man like 10 years, and every New Year's he would sell out the sports arena, and just have 50 to like 70,000 kids just partying, right? And so that's what we used to do. We used to do all these events, and that all started when I went to my first nightclub when I was like I was a little younger than Jonathan. I was like 15 years old, bro.
Jeez.
Yeah, 15 years old going to nightclubs.
You're like, whoa. What?
Yeah. When no supervision, that's what happens.
You saw the opportunity,
I saw the opportunity, man. I was
and that career lasted about 18 years.
it lasted like 20 years, man.
20 years.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
And what made you change like that transition from that to real estate?
Yeah, so like you're
Yeah.
you're starting to hit 28, 29. What was like happening in
man.
those 3 years that like, and then you said you got a divorce, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was all together.
So
It was like,
everything. So obviously we all change because something happens, right? You either get hurt. And what else? So you get hurt, you learn, and the other one is, I forgot what the other one is, but yeah, I changed because I got hurt, right? Obviously my marriage was breaking up, and obviously that was all me. It's still being in the nightclub, still doing all that stuff. So, but that's what kind of changed. I said, you know what, no more nightclubs. I'm done.
yeah.
And then I worked for LA Fitness and Bally's. They're a great company. They teach you a lot and they show you a lot about sales. Great company to learn from, but they are. I think the turnaround with those companies is pretty fast because they burn you out.
Mhm.
But I could tell you this, like, and I'll tell this for everybody who wants to recruit some really great salespeople. And I told this to George. I told this to pretty much, everybody I talk to. The best salespeople in that I know is you go to LA Fitness. You go to LA Fitness now. If you hire those kids that sell memberships,
Right.
they'll kill it in real estate.
That's true.
So
They got me the other day.
So when I, if and when I start my company, I'm gonna be canvassing LA Fitness.
You're gonna be catering to
I'll
the
be catering
LA Fitness.
You know what Title does? They bring all they bring us all goodies and cookies, and we're gonna start doing that to them.
Wow.
So
Yeah, LA Fitness is crazy. They got me into a year contract
yeah.
without even knowing. I'm like, oh,
There
there it is.
Do you use your membership? Oh,
No,
I've been
finished it.
seeing you.
Yeah, no, I finished it. I did a whole year of training.
Yeah.
They got me in. They pre-qualified me. They did everything, and when I sat down, they just went through the process and closed me.
Oh yeah. So just their flyer, it's seamless, right?
Yeah. But they have a system.
They do.
They have a system, and like the
And a big
salespeople-
CRM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm starting to see that. Like, it's always about systems, regardless. No matter how small or how big your business is,
Yeah.
you have to have systems, and they have a great system. I mean, all gyms do. So then you got into real estate at 31. Then you started doing just sales. You said your first deal was a buyer's. So
Yeah.
were you thinking that you were going to be a buyer's agent at first, or still didn't know?
I still didn't know. When I came into real estate, my first day in real estate, how many flyers do you think I had? How many business cards?
0.
I had met with Arlen, the agent that brought me into Las Casas, and I had met George. So I think the first day I arrived to Las Casas, I had 15,000 business cards.
You came ready.
I came ready.
No,
And-
no, not messing around.
Not messing around, and I think I had assistant. I think that was the title, because you can't market yourself as
Right.
an agent if you're not licensed. So I had to market myself as an assistant to Arlen, and then I think I worked with Eddie for a few deals. So I came ready. I started doing the things that I knew how to do, which is market myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
extensive 20-year
experience.
experience.
Yeah.
You use that into real estate.
And that's it. After that, it's a numbers game, like pretty much how I learned in nightclubs. It's a numbers game, right? Before Facebook, before Instagram, we had MySpace, right? But before MySpace, we were actually passing out flyers to like different nightclubs. In one night, we would do like 4 nightclubs. And when you get out of the club and you're all like going home and you're drunk, we would put flyers in the cars.
Oh, and then
Right.
everyone gets money.
That was us. So same thing. I brought that to Highland Park.
Yeah.
I created a lot of enemies. I think early in my years, a lot of the old realtors, right, the established companies,
Right.
the company has been there for like 100 years.
No
They didn't
names.
like me. They didn't like Las Casas first off, but they didn't like me because I was outperforming them.
Right.
And so a lot of the big names, the established companies, didn't like that we're marketing so much.
Right. You're getting your name out there. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And when the competition starts noticing, that means you're doing good.
Yeah. So that's what George, that's what our broker tells us, right? But so a lot of the marketing I did in Highland Park were like the bandit signs
Right.
that says we buy homes cash. So that's how I started getting a lot of my clients, a lot of my sellers. But at the same time, I was also getting fined by the city.
Oh no.
So each poster that the city will take out, it's like $52. So imagine that we're putting thousands of posters out there. So yeah, we had to pay the city a lot, but it's still worth it.
Right. It's part of the business.
Yeah.
And so back to how you were telling us you were making money, but then you were also spending it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we're trying to teach here at Top Traction too, is building those habits.
Yeah.
Save money. What changed your mind? Like, oh, I need to start saving, and what did you start doing different?
So I had to explore, right? I had to explore the whole real estate stuff, the whole. I had to get used to making tens of thousands of dollars every month, and once I was like, okay, all this money is going in, and I didn't take a business class. I didn't take anything. So I think if I would have taken a business class, I would have been fine. But the good thing is just like the people that I surrounded myself, right? So the one takeaway that you guys could to take from here is when I decided to buy this property, the partner I was with, she was awesome, right? So we started thinking about living together. She actually had owned a property already, and I think she was like 24 when she bought her house. So I was 30 something, and I still don't have a house. So I think I got inspired by her, and so then I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to buy a house, then what do I need to do? I need to start saving my commissions. And so from 1 month to another, I was like, okay, well, I started saving my commissions, and I had like 70 grand in the bank, and that's when I said, okay, I gotta go out there. Mm-hmm. But my credit wasn't the greatest, right? So I think I had like a 580 credit score. So this house that we're standing on, I had put those bandit signs, and I had got a call from the owner. The owner was elderly. She collected a lot of stuff, so there's a lot of stuff here. This garage here, you couldn't even walk in here because it was so damaged. The wood was rot. The garage would leak, right? So we could stand here, but we couldn't stand over there because if not, you'll fall down. But when I came here, I sat down here with the owners and we were talking, and I was just looking at the view. If you guys could see the view over there, I was just imagining like this is gonna be my house. And so I would come and talk to him like once a month, and we'll talk like, okay, are you guys ready to sell? They're like, well, not yet. And it took a few months, and then once I said, okay, we're ready to sell. So my goal was to get my credit up, and for like within the next 6 months, get it up to like 640, whatever the credit score is to buy a house. Mm-hmm. I had the investment already, and so then I saved the money, and I said, okay, cool, I have the down payment. But when I was going to buy this house, another investor came in and said, hey, and they were trying to buy the property too, and I was like, oh man,
That always happens.
it always happens. So we're going back and forth, and they were like, well, they offered me this much, and I was like, shit. And I was like, okay, well, I'll match it. And they were like, well, can you give us a little bit more? And I was like, oh man, like, all right, cool. So we did it.
$100.
No, it was more. It was more. I overpaid by 50,000, but I was still getting at a good price. And so, but like the cool thing is, I really believe this was like a godsend deal, because everything happened perfectly. Everything happened. My credit score went to like 600 and something really quick. I had the income. I had to find them, the sellers. We had to pretty much find them. They were downsizing.
Replacement property.
Yeah, and so that took like, once we signed escrow, once we're like, okay, we're buying the house, now let's find you a property. That took like 3 to 4 months, and the cool thing about real estate, and the cool thing about having equity in the property, and within those 3 to 4 months, Al Sereno was in a transition. So Al Sereno was just up and coming now, right? So we were finding them the property. Once we found them the property, it took us another 30 days to close, right? We had to pretty much get the money from here and put it over there. So when I actually ended up buying this property, after all those months, I had already like $60,000 in equity.
Wow. So you overpaid, but
Yep.
then you didn't. Like, the moment that you overpaid, within those 3 to 4 months that you helped her find a property, you made an extra 60. So it went up 100.
Yeah.
Wow. But also you had to fix a lot though. But
so once I got in here, this was my first property, so I overspent. I overspent a lot, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making this a place for me and my partner. We had a great time here. The deal was, I told her, okay, well, you could design it's one house, but it's divided into 2 units. So she designed the top house, and I designed the bottom, and I thought that was kind of cool. So there's 2 different looks, but we meshed kind of good.
yeah. So then you said that your first takeaway would be that
Choose the right partner. That's the first takeaway.
that's true, because that's what you started with. But you said you got into real estate, but you didn't start thinking about owning a property right away.
No.
So the first thing you had to do is change your mindset.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
then the partner.
Yeah, then the partner. Yeah, absolutely.
No. But also, because let's say you were able to change your mindset because of the people you associated yourself with. So how about those people that like don't have that opportunity to associate themselves with people like you, or the people that you are in business with? Because they all have similar mentality, not all.
Yeah.
But like, what's an advice to them? Like, people that have a regular job, they don't have the opportunity to come across people like this.
Yeah.
What would you recommend them?
Well, I mean, like, if you have having a regular job is awesome, right? It shows that you're dedicated, you're committed. If you work for a company and you have a W-2, right? And if you've been there for 10 years, for 12 years, if you've been there for 2 years, you could buy a property. And it's just a change of mindset. I think it's like, if you really want something, you're gonna work for it. Yeah. So if people, if you're gonna buy a car, you know what that car payment's gonna be, right? And most of us usually buy a car right away. And so I think if you just change the mindset from, hey, I'll buy my car once I buy my house first, I think that, I'm gonna always say that buying a house is more important, right? And especially because of the equity, right?
Yes.
Just on this property, how I got $50,000 to $100,000 within a year of equity. It would have taken me maybe, let's say, a year to earn $100,000.
But then you had expenses too.
Yeah. So, so you just got to get into that mindset. I think once you're in that mindset, you're like, okay, cool, and you got to get with the right people, right?
Right, and you know your goals in life, like what's the most important, and then you need to focus what you need to do, like how you started saving money instead of wasting it in 1 month. So It's pretty important.
And I'll let you go.
So you said you started real estate at 31, and you said you wish you had started 10 years before,
If
right?
I wish I would have done this in high school.
Same, same.
Yeah.
All
I
the
s-
energy.
so then another thing, you said the moment that you started at 31, you were going crazy with marketing because that's what you knew,
Yeah.
right? But now we're 10 years after.
Hmm.
What is something that you wish you would have done differently in the start of your real estate career?
Um,
Or what kind of improvements would you have done to your beginning?
yeah. I think just the follow up, because I always went after new business, new business, new business, new business. I never had a good follow up, right? So if you didn't buy within the first couple of weeks, then I would have just gone on to the next because I was working with a lot of sellers. Um, so I think the follow up, the CRM is really important, and then and I guess hiring an assistant. I still don't have an assistant. I've still been doing this on my own. So, but hiring an assistant, I think that's the first thing you got to do. You got to spend that money on
So you're
an
looking for
assistant.
an assistant?
I am looking for an assistant. Yes.
What are the qualifications that are needed?
Um, it, they got to be committed, right? This is if they're going to be an assistant, they got to be committed at least for 2 years. If you're just trying to try real estate for a year, then we probably don't want to spend that much time on you. With technology, we could teach you all this stuff, right? But they have good communication. That's awesome.
Personality.
Personality. They could talk, right? In this business, you're going to talk a lot, so you got to be able to work with a lot of different types of personalities.
It's true.
But with ChatGPT and all that stuff, actually ChatGPT is my assistant right now. By the way,
I've noticed. I was like, is that David? Is that an email from David? Wow.
it's great.
I think he has a college degree now.
David went to grad school for 2 months.
Actually, one of the cool things about ChatGPT is, obviously we all have insecurities.
Right.
My insecurity was when I have to deal with attorneys,
That's true.
when I'm doing probate, dealing with probate, my insecurities are really high. But I went on ChatGPT. I said, respond to this attorney and send her a letter for this, and right away, bro, I just came in. I was like, this is perfect. I send it, and the attorney goes, okay. I was like, so it was great.
So then you started at 31, then you've been in the business for 10 years already?
Yeah.
I'm guessing, did you have like a set goal time? Oh, I'm going to buy my house in 5 years. You didn't? Or
No.
So are you starting to figure those goals out now? What's in store for you in the next 5 years?
So my goal at least is every year buy another property, and it keeps on changing. But my ultimate goal is to have 100 doors, right? And it could be a fourplex, it could be a 10plex, whatever. Just 100 doors. It doesn't have to be 100 properties, but just 100 doors. And I don't know what that amount is going to be every month in rents, but I think that's, I'm pretty, like I have the big picture, but I still don't know how to do it yet.
Got it.
Right.
So when you purchased this home, what was next after that? Like, I know you purchased another property later on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how did that go about?
So what was next after I purchased this home? Like I said, I spent a lot of money in this
Right.
house, so I didn't know what was next. I just kept on spending and spending. I kind of didn't think I was going to buy another property, to be honest. It was just like, all right, I got a property, and the hack that I actually did on this property was awesome. So my mortgage, the lender that helped me get this property did a great job getting the loan, like really low interest. I came in with 10%, but like my mortgage was like $1,800 every month, and for a whole year I had to pay $1,800. Before that, I was paying only $1,000 rent somewhere. Like I had a loft in East LA, and I went from $1,000 to $1,800, and I thought that was a lot. I'm like, oh my god, right? Double, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I think I had friends that say, why are you doing that? You're paying more. It's $1,800. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I put blinders on and I just kept on going straight. And once I fixed the house, it was really nice. I listed the downstairs basement, I think for like $1,600,
Oh, wow.
and it's it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, high ceilings, really, uh, everything was renovated, right, with appliances, utilities. So I listed for $1,600. I had like 30 people in line to get this place. So I leased it. The person that was here, I think, was here for a year and a half. And so from $1,600, my mortgage is 18. That means I was only paying $200 a month. Yeah. So when I saw those numbers, I was like, okay, cool, this is great. Like, let's do more.
So you got creative with the basement. It's like,
Yeah.
not everyone does that. Like,
Yeah. And how did I know how to do that? I don't know how I learned how to do it. I guess
You just wanted to find a way.
I just didn't want. I wanted to
didn't
stop
wanna pay
paying
the
the mortgage.
mortgage.
That's it.
gotta make it
pay for
somewhere.
That's what it was, man. And then, driving around, my car had, the big banner that said "We buy homes cash," and I always marketed myself that way. So when I bought this house, I would market I will come and fix the house, and people would see that I buy homes. And one of the other neighbors said, "Hey, I'm thinking of selling," and this is within like 3 or 4 years. He goes, I'm thinking of selling this year," and I said, "All right, cool. Let me know. I'll sell it for you." And it took us 3 years to sell the house because he was like, "Well, maybe next year," and then he was like, "Well, I want this much," and I said, "Well, you probably won't get it, but we could try." And he was like, "Well, let's try next year." Finally, he said, "Okay, I know I've been telling you next year, but I'm going to sell my house now." And I said, "Well, let's list it." And so I told him, I think your house is worth this amount, but he wanted $200,000 more than the market. And I remember having a conversation. Now I'm a savvy agent, right? I've been in the business for a while, and I had to learn a lot of, I've learned a lot. So I said, "Look, if I list the property for you this high for $200,000, what's going to happen is you're going to get mad at me because I haven't sold your house.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, your house is worth, I think it was like 450. Your house is worth 450, and he wanted 600. And I said, and if I list it, you're going to get mad at me because I haven't sold it. You're going to ask me, why hasn't my house sold, David? And remember this conversation we're going to have right now. The reason it hasn't sold is because it's overpriced." And he goes, no, I promise I won't get mad." What happened 2 months later? He got mad.
He was mad.
I almost got fired. and so we didn't get offers.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the market for like 4 months. We didn't get offers. I think the offers that we got were like, they were good offers. They were like 400, 420, and he was like, "No, it's too low. It's too low." And after like the 5th month, he goes, oh, and I had told him, like, "I'll buy the house for you, and I'll buy it at market value." And then he comes back and he goes, "Do you still want to buy the house?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was able to take. So this is how I bought that house, and it's like 5 houses down. So I was able to get equity from this home. So I got I think I got $200,000 out. My mortgage went up to like $3,000 now, and so I was able to put 20% on the other home. And I did the same thing what I did here, but I did it faster. Right?
You had already learned.
Yeah, I learned. So I did it faster, and same thing. My mortgage over there was 24, and this is 31. So we're talking about like $5,600, right? And once I did that faster, I rented it. I rented the bottom over there also, now $1,800. And but the reason I was able to do that is because maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, me and my partner, we traveled to Colombia. And when we traveled to Colombia, we were going to stay there for like 3 weeks. She had introduced me to Airbnb. And then she was like, "Hey, since we're not going to be here for 3 weeks, why don't we put this on Airbnb?" And I was like, "What? Put this on Airbnb? Like, you're crazy." And I was totally against it.
Is your stuff within there?
Yeah, my stuff was here. Like my stuff was here, and I was totally against it. But then I was like, okay, we did it, and it went great. Right? It came back. My stuff was fine. Nothing there's no damage. And now like, all right, this is cool. And then we made like whatever we spent on the trip, we
got it back.
we got it back.
Nice.
So that's when I learned Airbnb like for the first time, and now like, oh, this is awesome.
That
And
was how long ago?
it was like 7 years ago.
That was barely starting, huh?
Yeah. And then nothing happened after that. And then when I decided to rent this one, I said, okay, I'm gonna rent this property out, and then I'm gonna buy the other property. So I was living here, and then I had to buy the other one. So pretty much it was we're gonna rent this and then buy that one and move into that.
That's what you had to do it fast.
Yeah, I had to do it fast. And so yeah, once I bought it, I went to that other property. I was living in a construction site.
I remember there was an RV there.
Don't
Did you
do
move in
it.
there?
Don't do it. The RV is actually, I gave it to one of my buddies, and he fixed it. And he actually did it.
Oh, wow.
It looks really nice. So
Wow. So, there's a lot of talk about the market and how like it's very unaffordable.
Mhm.
And when as real estate agents that we are, whenever we speak to anyone in the streets, that's the first thing they say.
yeah,
I can't buy a home. I can't ever buy a home. What is your advice to that? Like, do you think it's really impossible, or it just your mindset just needs to change and you could find a way?
I think it needs to change. But us Latinos, like when I grew up, I grew up in my aunt's house, right? I shared a bedroom with my cousins. There was like 3 families living in my aunt's house. She would actually always take us in. Whenever we come from, like, when we came from Mexicali, my aunt was already here in Rose Hill. So my family stood with my aunt until we got our apartment, and then we got our apartment. But like my aunt would take all our family in, so that's kind of like base, and then from there we kind of got our places.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it that way, let's say you don't qualify as much because you don't make that much in income, but you could buy FHA with 3.5% down. And let's say if you have siblings, and if your brother's working or your sister's working, you combine both incomes, then you guys could buy, right?
Yeah.
Or you have a cousin or an aunt. So there's always a way to purchase. You just got to figure out, if that's one of your goals, you got to just say, oh, well, how do we do it?
That's what I heard about the. I'm not sure if it's the people from like Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
Hindus.
You saw that video?
Iran. I haven't, but I've heard since before that.
Yeah.
Whenever they want to start their own like investment when it comes to gas stations,
Mhm.
the first thing they do is like they get into a group of 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and they put their money together and they buy the first one. So they all own the first gas station.
Yeah.
So then, once they accumulate enough money to buy the second one, now 2 of them own one, until each owns one gas station alone. So I guess that's what your point is, right? If you want to buy a home and you have like 4 brothers, and you can't do it by yourself,
Yeah.
so why not come together? But what is it that you think as Latinos, like, what keeps us from doing that? Yeah.
I guess we all hear horror stories, right? Or we all have,
We all have that one friend.
we all have that one friend. Yeah, you're right, Juanito.
That they knew somebody.
Yeah, you all have that friend that says, don't buy real estate right now. It's not a good time. Don't mix money with family, right?
Or even friendships.
Or friendships, right? We all know that stuff. And it's a stereotype. I guess it might be true. Whenever my family asks me for money, I say I know I'm going to give it to them. If I get it back, great. But I don't have that. Oh, I'm going to get my money back.
Yeah, you can't
I guess my
expect
mentality is just like, okay, I'll give it to you. If
I get it back, then that's a bonus.
But luckily that hasn't really happened to me as much. But yeah, it just, if you go into partnership with somebody, you got to look at their character.
Right.
I think that's really important. Knowing their character and or will they pay back? Check their FICO score.
You gotta qualify them.
Got to qualify them.
It's like you're in the same level mentality-wise.
Yeah.
Discipline.
That's how you go faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so then again, it just comes down to like the need or the want. Like, is it that they want to do it? That's the first thing that they want to do. Like, change your mentality to want to do it. Because, I mean, I grew up in a Latino household.
Yeah.
My family came, I think my mom came in the 1998. They still don't own a home.
Okay.
My aunt doesn't own a home. They lived here,
Yeah.
paid low rent forever. They had the opportunity to buy, they never did. So I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
And she said, I wanted my husband to buy, but he was always scared. And I'm sure that's a lot of
A lot.
Latinos that are afraid to take that next step. You know, like, I'm gonna lose my home.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. But those that have done it have seen the reward.
Absolutely.
Even being a citizen or not,
Yeah.
anyone that's a homeowner is way better off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then they all look back and they're like, man, we could have in Highland Park or El Sereno,
Mhm.
but they didn't.
And it builds the generational wealth for your kids, for their grandkids. It's crazy.
So even when I started in real estate like 6 years ago, I never thought like I could potentially own a home. But little by little, my mindset has been changing. It's taken a while, but this is the first year, and I'm thinking like, no, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. It has to happen. Sooner or later, it has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and I'm sure that within a year or two, I'll be having a property just because my mindset already changed. Now, the first thing I look when I see a property is like, can I own it?
Yeah.
Can I until one day the opportunity will come, but it won't come. Or sometimes if your mindset hasn't changed, the opportunity comes and you don't see it because you never change your mindset, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like our goal with Top Traction is mainly like, since we're in real estate already, is to talk to those people that maybe deep down they want to, but they think they never can or they never will, to start, because all you need is one step
Yeah.
to change, and then little by little, even if it's one day at a time, you start improving yourself, you will change and it get to that point, right? And it's always a journey. It might take 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, but if you start today to change that mentality, you'll get there, right?
I think you got to be obsessive, and you got to be obsessive of what you want, right? Like when, I'll talk to you as a guy. Like when I wanted to date this person, I was obsessive. I would do anything to be with that person, and then, we became boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Same thing with your goals and your real estate. You got to be obsessive of, you want to buy a house. Like you got to say, okay, well, like the things that I sacrificed to buy this house, like a few years, say, and if you go back to my Facebook, posts, like a few years before I bought this house, during Christmas, you'll see me with Black Friday or stuff. You see me with like 2 TVs that I was buying for my family.
Mm-hmm.
I was buying like stuff for my contractors. I had my truck full of like 50-inch TVs for Christmas gifts. I was buying all kinds of crap, and because they were cheap, right? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy a lot. But when I decided to buy this house, for 2 years, I knew I was gonna buy a house. I did not spend anything for Christmas, like,
You had a goal.
I had to go. Yeah. So I tell my clients, and I tell my family, I tell them that story. I said, look, if you guys want to buy a house, like for my family, there's not that many that own houses. It's only a few, right? So I tell them, like, hey, if you guys want to buy, you guys gotta maybe stop eating out, going to all these restaurants. On Instagram it looks really nice, but you got to start saving.
Yeah, you gotta sacrifice some things.
Yeah.
And put your priority first, which is buying the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
And another thing is, like, not only I've heard people talk about is like, yeah, you should sacrifice certain things, but at the same time, it's like there has to be a balance, right? It doesn't mean that you can't go out every now and then with your family, right?
Yeah.
Because the more important thing on top of that is also increasing your income. You got to find a way to make more money, because it's not always about just sacrificing and saving.
Yeah.
Saving. You also have to find a way to make more money, because
Yeah.
that's what, like, saves you time
Yeah.
in the long run, right?
So we know the same people, right? We know people that. So when I bought this house, I knew about I have to work hard for 2 years. I need to have taxes for 2 years with lots of income. That's how I knew how to buy a house, because that's what my lender
So,
told me. And actually, so I think so you could, I think Elon Musk says your like write down your 5 year goals,
hmm
right? And in those 5 years, how long is it gonna take you to do all those goals in 5 years? And I think he says, why can't you do them in 5 months, right? So if you're obsessed about your goals, and you know it's going to take you 2 years to buy a house, why can't you buy it in 3 months? We know people that could buy houses in 3 months
Yeah.
without having lots of taxes, right? So, but I only knew that you have to have 2 years of work history, and that's how you qualify for a property. But if you talk to lenders, and if your friends are lenders, your friends are people that sell homes, and you ask questions, because it's about information, you ask the right questions, they're going to guide you. And there's like the DSCR loan program,
hmm
right? That as long as the potential rents cover the mortgage, they actually lend you the loan.
They fund it, yeah.
They fund it. You don't need 2 years of taxes. Those are great programs. So that's something you could do. That's something, Juanito, that you could do too.
Yeah,
You don't need 2 years of great taxes. You could buy it just with that income.
yeah. But you won't see it unless you change your mindset.
Yeah.
Because
You gotta inform yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
always gotta, if that's your priority, that should be like in your head 24/7 basically. Just look it up,
Yeah.
like meet the right people, try to get into the right group,
Yeah.
and they'll give you all those nuggets.
Yeah.
They'll tell you all their secrets, all their hacks, and that
Yeah.
will help you a lot.
So again, here we're with David Deanda. He's been the top producer at our brokerage, Las Casas Realty, for the last 10, 11 years.
I've been a top producer there for a few years. I think a few years I got dropped because I was just.
Well, you've been the top producer since I got there.
Yeah. So
I don't know how long before that.
I think so. I'll tell you, when I started Las Casas, the first 3 years I was like number 3 or like 4 or whatever. But after my third year, I think I was a top producer for a few years, maybe 3 or 4. And then after that, like, I my first 3 years, I grind. I was working 60 hours a day, a week, 7 days a week. I was just grinding. And then after like my fourth, fifth year, I would work like 20 hours a week, right? And obviously my sales dropped. So, but I love real estate, man. I've worked in real estate. Like I said, I could work 60 hours a week. I could work 80 hours a week, and I don't get tired.
It doesn't feel like work.
It
'Cause
doesn't.
you're passionate.
It doesn't feel like work. So, and that's why I believe that this is a great industry, because it's so rewarding, for yourself, but it's also rewarding just to see your clients purchase their homes. It's so rewarding when your clients get equity, right? It's so rewarding when they're
When they're thankful that you helped them out.
Yeah, man.
It's a feeling. It's a good
When
feeling.
they invite you to the carne asada and all that stuff, it's great.
Yeah. So how can we reach out to you if we need help buying or selling a property, or if they have any questions?
Yeah. So the best thing is it's Instagram. So I'm at Mr.Highland Park. You could get me my phone number if you could provide the number. But yeah, just DM me. I'm always
Or anyone
available.
that's interested in getting into the business, or an assistant. We're looking for
Yeah,
an assistant.
absolutely.
Male or female, don't matter.
No, it doesn't
As
matter.
long as you want to work.
As long as you're driven, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you guys, it's like, so I live in Highland Park. Juanito, you live in Downey, Norwalk, and Jeffrey, Highland Park, right? Sorry, I live in El Sereno. I don't live in Highland Park. I'm renting. I'm actually gonna lease in Highland Park in 2 months.
Nice.
I'm gonna get a place. So again, I'm moving out of my place. I'm gonna do Airbnb, and so right now I have three Airbnbs. I have 3 rentals, with regular tenants, and then I'm gonna get my 4th Airbnb in Highland Park, and then I'm gonna live in the back unit.
Mm.
So it's really close to the office, like 4 blocks. Really close. But if you guys want to get into real estate, I would definitely recommend our office, especially if you're like in Highland Park, if you live close by. So you live in Alstrino, Boyle Heights, Highland Park. It's a great office to work with. The staff is great, and then the brokers are awesome. So, yeah,
Perfect. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you.
absolutely.
We'll do this some other time.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
Perfect. Well, we're still getting used to it.